let's not worry about keeping yourself muted. If anyone would like to break in at any time and make a comment, it's certainly welcome to do so. I actually prefer that. My name's Don Uldricks, for those of you who don't know me. I've been in the business 29 years now, going on 30. The title of this was going from $0 to $100,000 gross commission income in 1 year. And that is a fact, and that did happen for me in my first year in the business. I don't know where any of you come from regarding your starting out in the business, but in my case, I walked into my office to do what was in my regular job and found out I didn't have a job anymore, and 29 years ago at the age of 50, and was effectively shown the door. Since I had no idea that was coming, I had no plans on what I would do in the future, and I really thought I would stay in that job until I retired. It creates a bit of stress, shall we say. I would imagine all of you can relate to that. And I'm not sure what brought each of you into this business, but and I also don't, as a matter of practice, spend a lot of time talking to myself about myself, but I guess that's what this is really about. So that's the situation I was in June of 1991. I put out resumes and attempted to find jobs in my previous areas of endeavor, which were accounting and sales. And found out what is probably still true today, that when you're 50 years old, you're sort of used material, and it's not an easy thing to do to find a new job. Like most people, I have had responsibilities financially for my family, and I needed to get employed again at something. I had heard that two of the remaining areas where one could, with the proper effort, make a lot of money quickly, which was my goal, was real estate or insurance. I didn't know much of anything about either one of those at that time, so I chose to try and move into the real estate world. There's two choices in real estate. You can do commercial. I guess there'd be three. You can do commercial, you can do residential, or you can do both. I just thought doing both would be, commercial seemed like people had done very well in that over the years, if you look around, but it took a long time to get started, and that wasn't an option for me. So I chose to go into the residential real estate business. I had a neighbor down the street from me who, a gentleman by the name of Bill Anderson, who was a pretty successful RE/MAX agent at that time. Keller Williams wasn't even on the map 29 years ago. So I went to Bill and asked him about RE/MAX, and then based on that, I thought, well, I better go around and look at what the other options were. RE/MAX was a 100% system, which simply means that you pay them a fee every month, and when you sell a property, after paying that fee, you get to keep the commission for that property or any other properties you sell in a given month. That seemed appealing to me. I went around and interviewed different traditional real estate companies, shall we say, Coldwell Banker, HER, Prudential was pretty big back then. Century 21 had a presence. I guess my observation with each of those was seemed like people spent more time worrying about who they were going to go to lunch with than they did about selling real estate. So I chose to sign up. Well, I chose, first of all, to go to Hondros to get an education. That was a number of weeks process. And then in 91, I took my test and got my real estate license and joined Remax. The office I joined was one down on Sawmill Road. It's still there today. It's called Remax Affiliates. I had no knowledge. I had no money. I had a lot of motivation because I had bills to pay. And I really didn't know where to start. If you know anything about Remax, you know that that's exactly what it is. You pay them a fee, they provide services. They're not a real high level education company. And so whatever you get there, you're just gonna have to get on your own. I was very fortunate in that I had a broker that was willing to help me and suggest things that I should do. I had another gentleman who was still at Remax, I believe, Jim Frad, who was mentored me. And at that point in time, I also met Tim Reel, who is in our office here at Keller Williams Consultants. With us, the information from those three gentlemen and an absolute fear of starving to death, I guess, I started my first efforts towards making some money in real estate. It was pretty clear to me that nobody's just going to run up to you and then when they've never known you were even in real estate and ask you to sell their house for them, nor would they ask you to take them out to buy a house. So the first thing I did in my effort to try and get into the business was develop a database. Now this was a different world back then compared to what you folks have available today, which is absolutely phenomenal, the capabilities. We really had a very remedial MLS, not a lot of information available there through the MLS. In fact, our main source of information on properties for sale, of which there were probably 10, 11,000, which would be nice to have today because we're pretty slim on listings now, was an MLS book, which was a book about that thick, that with very thin pages covered on both sides with little boxes about that big, outlining the details of the property. If you were going to show a property, you had to go pick up a key at somebody's office, typically, or we did have the dial lock boxes at that time. I got my hands on that material, but the first thing one would guess is, why would someone want to buy something from me when I can't even give them any experience about anything I've ever done in real estate? And as was pointed out to me, the thing I felt I needed to do first was get people informed that I was in real estate. So that was my first step, was to do a mailing. And back then you couldn't do email. You couldn't do Instagram. You couldn't do Facebook. You had to do the good old U.S. Postal Service and send out postcards. So I did a lot of that. I did a lot of phone calling to people I knew, informing them that I was in the business and would be appreciative of any help they could give me as to referring people to me or anything they might want to do in real estate themselves. My only claim for the right to work with them was my relationship and the commitment that I would make to them, that I would do whatever it took and work as hard as I had to get them exactly what they were looking for. Back in those days, the suit of the day was a coat and tie, and so it's gone away now. And the other effort that I put in to tend to be factual, the first year I ended up ultimately being very fortunate. 5 years I was in the business, I didn't take a day off. I didn't take a holiday off. My goal was to work as hard as I could work every single day until I got too tired to work anymore. I don't know that that's the most healthy thing one could do, but I was desperate to be successful for a lot of reasons. The other effort that I put in at that point in time, which I feel is very important for everyone who's going to be in this business, was I went out and tried to learn the market in the Westerville, Worthington, Dublin, and at that point, Powell area, although there wasn't much moving at all in Powell at that point in time. I had no idea of the name of subdivisions. I didn't pay any attention to them back in my previous days. So I had to learn where subdivisions were, and learn from the MLS book, if you will, from people I could talk to in the business, what the price ranges were, who the builders were. Then also there was the subject of resale versus new, and I knew nothing about new properties at that point in time. First couple months, it was all about doing those kinds of things, and no results. Everybody was very nice, very accommodative in conversation, but I was getting no business. I wasn't feeling too good about myself at that point in time, although I'm a pretty determined person. I lost the job and now wandering around in a business that I knew nothing about, and frankly was feeling like life wasn't working out too well at that point in time. The other thing that I took on at that point in time, because I'm sort of a detail person, I'm an accountant by education, salesperson by experience in the job, as I made it my business to read and understand the Columbus Bar Association real estate contract. That's something everybody that's on here, if you haven't done it, read it and learn it and understand it. And if you don't understand it, someone like myself, and have them go over it with you. We teach a number of classes on that. Because if you do get the chance to work with somebody and you do write a contract, you better have a pretty good idea of what you're committing your customer to. And after all, from a legal point of view, you are responsible. You are the person who's giving the buyer and seller advice.
Hey, Don, can I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
There's somebody that just joined and we're hearing a lot of background music or a lot of background sound. Can they mute themselves? Please.
Let's see. Everybody's muted on here except 614975. Who would that be?
Ooh, it's me.
Let
me see here. Hang on here. Mute.
Who is this? There we go. Who is that? Who are we talking to here? You can unmute yourself again for a second and identify yourself.
It was me, Teresa Kenny.
Hi,
Sorry.
Teresa. How are you?
Good. I love the story, Don. Sorry, Paige. I didn't realize I was unmuted.
That's all right. That's fine.
Keep going with the story. It's great. I'm loving this.
I guess the final straw in the feeling like a failure basket was I did get a lead towards someone associated with an accounting firm that I knew who was about to list to take a property that they owned and divide it up into 12 lots and sell those lots to have custom builds done on them. And it was the first solid lead that I got. And that was about a month and a half, 2 months into this process of trying to turn myself into someone who had some knowledge and ability to stand on their 2 feet in real estate. I had to meet the woman who was in charge through someone else, and she was a real nice gal, and I tried to get an association with her and a contact, which of course is very important with everything you do in real estate. It's all about how you're perceived and your relationship with people, and worked for about a month trying to get that listing. I even bought the woman flowers at some point in time, trying to effectively bribe her into letting me have the 12 listings. Well, as it turned out, she ended up not listing with me. She listed it with someone else. And that seemed to be the straw that broke the camel's back in my mind. And I was feeling pretty desperate. And at that point, I ended up going to a regional RE/MAX event. It had a speaker who probably all of you have heard of, a fellow by the name of John Maxwell. And he was doing a program that particular day on the subject called Failing Forward. And that sounded like that was right up my alley, because I felt like I was failing, and I went to attend that. And it was about an hour and a half program. And he basically started this program out with the statement that failing forward, everybody does it, but nobody likes it. And I thought to myself, boy, doesn't nobody enjoys it. Doesn't that chime in? And he says that anybody can learn to fail forward. And everybody ought to be taught how to fail forward. And I thought to myself, just based on that simple advice, that you know, all my efforts so far, which hadn't really been very helpful, might not be for naught if I could do something about what was about to be a really bad attitude. Another one of his pieces of advice was the difference between average people and achieving people is their perception of and their response to failure. That one rings in my head and always has and still does, because at that point, the very thing I needed more than anything else was an attitude adjustment. And I hadn't thought about it that way at all. And he said, you know, you need to take responsibility for your situation in life and what's going on with your success or your failure. Another little phrase that got used was say goodbye to yesterday, it ended last night. And somewhere about a half an hour into that presentation, I started feeling a little better about myself and what was going on. And I just committed myself to continuing to try and bust through this ceiling of getting at least a live buyer or seller interested in talking to me. I walked out of that seminar of his with renewed vigor, and went back to what I'd already been doing, just doing it harder and trying to do it longer, contacting people I knew, trying to meet people and contact people I didn't know. One of the other things that I had heard, and I think we all get a little bit of that when we get in this business, is that realtors in general are not portrayed in a very favorable light. And so you have to earn your right to be respected as a person and as a professional. And to do that, you have to be positive in your presentation of yourself as a realtor for two reasons. One is, if you're going to be in this business and be successful, you've got to really believe in the business. And I'll have to say, even in the position I was in at that point in time, which was somewhere in the later part of 91, which is usually a slow time of year in real estate anyway, that I was enjoying the act of being a realtor far more than other things I had done in life. And I say that even today, after 29 years in the business, that this is a business of what I'll refer to as desperate optimism. And it has a lot of positive thinking people who, successful ones, who work extremely hard and deal with the failures that come in life as they come along. My approach to people in that period of time was simply, I don't have experience. I'll admit to that. I'm new in the business, but I'll work as hard as anybody you've ever seen to get you exactly what you want, which would be either listing a house or working with a buyer. I got a break through a relative of mine at one point in time who referred a couple to me who were about to move up to Maryland because of a job change. And I was given the opportunity to talk to them. I had put together a listing presentation on my own with the help from Tim and Jim Fred and Jim Skarts. And I was just scared to death for that first listing appointment. But I went into it with a renewed vigor and a thought that, you know, everybody fails, but moving forward is what's important. And all I can do is give it my very best try. And I did that, and I was very fortunate and got that listing. That happened about 3.5 months into this. I had also worked real hard at trying to make contacts in the corporate world. And at that point in time, a newcomer to town was Cardinal Health. They were just a little operation at that point in time, but I tried to get myself an introduction to the head of their HR department, which I ultimately did. And frankly, at this point, I forget the gal's name. But what I did find out pretty quickly was that one of my fellow Remax compatriots in a different office than mine already had that business. And so there was another one where you have to remember that forget about yesterday. It ends last night. But I also ran across somebody in my database who happened to work at Cardinal Health. And through that person, I got the name of, actually the guy who at that point in time was the CEO of Cardinal Health. So I finagled through my friend a way to meet this gentleman. And the good news of that was that he was high enough in the organization that he didn't really need to use the HR department when he was getting ready to hire somebody. So he was impressed enough with my willingness to work hard, which was really all I had going for me, to refer a gentleman to me who was moving into town. And he was an upper level guy at that time in Cardinal Health. So he was going to be buying a house in the $250,000 to $350,000 range, which at that point in time was a big number. Although, you know, the title of this presentation is 0 to 100,000. 100,000 today certainly is a fair amount of money, but 100,000 29 years ago was one hell of a lot of money. All I could offer this fella once I met him was sincerity and a willingness to work hard. And I didn't have a resume I could throw out there. You got to fake it till you make it in this business to some degree. And I tried to appear very positive. I had everything organized in my vehicle. I had MLS books. I had educated myself in subdivisions. I had a good idea of where everything was in Dublin at that point in time and the price ranges. And we started working together. Working at that point in time, what you'd call the relo business, was a little different than working with friends and family or people who are just thinking about selling but currently have a house. You have somebody who's on a mission, and generally they have benefits. So the next hurdle I took on was learning what the relocation policy was for that particular company. That became very important, and would for any of you that get into the relo business. And that was back before they started taking referral fees on everything that you did through a relo company. We ended up finding this gentleman a house in Dublin, and he was kind enough to pass my name on to somebody else who was coming along. And the long and the short of that is that I ended up selling, I think, 11 houses that particular year. I had one listing, just the one, the gentleman who was moving to Maryland. And frankly, for most of you getting in the business, it typically is easier to find buyers to work with than it is to get listings. Although they say you have to list to last, and I believe it's true. I really built my business on working with buyers. I don't want to go against the grain as far as what Keller Williams would like to see, but I find working with buyers, it's a lot harder work, in my belief, at least physically, but I enjoyed that challenge more. I came to find out, as you all probably have, if any of you who've been in the business for a while, Columbus is a fairly homogeneous market, north, south, east, west. You can pretty much, since Dominion at that point in time and MI sort of controlled the marketplace, there was a lot of similarity to subdivisions. So getting a handle on values and how to price things was easier, certainly easier here than where I'm licensed in Florida, which is an entirely different animal than in Ohio. But I got committed to the idea of learning relocation, and in the process, learning relocation agreements and what the good parts and bad parts were. What you find out fairly quickly, relocation companies are not there in particular to help the employee. They're there to help the employer. And so to some extent, the employee you're dealing with, you have to be their advocate with the relocation company, because they're interested in the fee that they're going to get from the company. And at that point, in the first 5 years I was in the business, the referral commissions started happening with relocation companies. At that point, first it was 10%, then 20%, and I think the last one I did, which was about 3 or 4 years ago, was like 40%. So in 1990, in 2000, I just quit doing that business. It wasn't cost effective to be in the relocation business, although some of you may have done that work and may do that work. You pay a pretty high price to have the opportunity to do a relocation. And I didn't find that to be cost effective for me. I thought I could get more, and did get more, out of developing my base of business and the people I knew and the contacts I had from previous businesses I've been in without the need to pay a referral fee to a relocation company. That was 1991. I was with Remax for 13 years. The thing that I found was most lacking, and clearly most lacking at Remax, was, I mean, what I learned because I was just too dumb to know any better, I guess is really what that comes down to. I just, kept trying to drink it in, everything I could find out, everything I could do, go to the Dublin Realtors meeting, go to the Worthington Realtors meeting, go to the Arlington Realtors meeting, constantly trying to get integrated into the world of real estate and knowledge of how things worked. Because as I said, I just had no knowledge at all. And in fact, one of the funny things that, at least in my mind, happened was my first trip to the Worthington real estate meeting. I won't name names, but they had a habit of people coming up at a certain point in the meeting and talking about whatever their current listing is. And so I was sitting there with Bill Anderson, the fellow that had sort of got me in the business, and a lady walked up there to talk about her property, and she introduced herself and said her name, and I looked at Bill and I said, well, that can't be her. She doesn't look anything like her picture. Well, that was a learning point too, to find out that a lot of real estate agents don't update their picture regularly. And they sometimes don't look quite the same as they did back when they had it taken 20 years before. I started having some success, and as a result of having some success, I have to give a lot of thanks to the Maxwell thing. I think they're very important things as far as success in life. I think if you're going to be a successful realtor, and you are, you're going to find that all the rest of your life keeping in perspective is difficult, because real estate can really overwhelm you. As I said, I worked for the first 5 years I was in the business, every day, all day long, no holidays or anything off. And in my particular case, that ended up with me in University Hospital having triple bypass surgery. And it was at that point in time, I got another chance to remember the failing forward news. A week after I got out of the hospital with that, from that surgery, week and a half, might have been 2 weeks. I had a transaction working with a couple who was moving in from out of state to a very high position, but they were going to buy a lot and build a house. I was real hopeful of getting myself in a position where I could sell the lot and also represent them in their relationship with the builder they might choose. For those of you who haven't been through this, that's an entirely different world. Typically, the builder, the custom builder, especially the high-end ones, they really don't care to have a realtor around. The other issue is what does that realtor do to earn their commission through the course of, like, at that point in time, for the house that was going to get built, 6 to 9 month build process. Another place to educate yourself, new builds, construction, how that works, what the process is. I knew nothing about that at that time. That week and a half, 2 weeks after I had had the open heart surgery, I met with this gentleman and his wife, and they informed me that they were buying a lot through, I think the guy's name was Ed Lynch at the time, the builder, and they were buying it from him. And I was on the street, and the work I'd done, which was a lot, showing them properties all over town until they came to the conclusion they were going to build new. They were going to buy a lot in Wedgwood and build it with him, and that they no longer needed my service. Once again, I had to suck it up at that point and remind myself that yesterday ended last night, and it's a new day tomorrow, and I had to move forward. At that point, Tim Reel and I were doing some business together, so he had that experience himself, and he sort of coached me through that one as well. Let's see, it's been 16 years ago now. As I said, one of the things that I thought was grossly lacking for me and anybody else I saw coming into the business was a company with a good, strong education program, one that would take some responsibility for your success from an education point of view. I got asked to come to a meeting. Of course, I'm quite a bit older than 50 at that point in time. I think it was Barb Gale's house with Nancy Paz, myself, Barb, Tim, and I believe Sandy Clapman, her husband, who probably you people don't even know. They were fairly big players at one time. And we talked to Linda McKissick on the telephone, who is our regional owner here at Keller Williams, and I got a pitch from her that starting a Keller Williams franchise, that Keller Williams was committed to the agent and to education of the agent first and foremost, and would always be that way. I was skeptical and cynical on that subject because those same promises were made by Dave Leniger, who was the guy who founded Remax, and really in the end it came down to he only wanted his monthly stipend, and any help you got, you would get through the kindness of other people that were in your office. There was no corporate commitment to the idea of education. There was also the conversation about profit sharing, and I had always been a believer that if you have some involvement and have the opportunity to share in the profit, that's a good thing. I didn't really understand it at that point in time, but I was impressed enough with what I heard from Linda, and the regional manager at that time was a Ginger Gibson. And four of us put together the money to start the Keller Williams Consultants Office that you all and I are members of today, and that'll be about 17 years ago now. I was the first broker for that operation. Tim, I believe, was the first OP. A lot of things have changed over the years. We've grown a lot. I'll have to say in the 17 years that I've been involved with Keller Williams, I couldn't be happier with the corporate commitment to the agent and to education and to a set of principles that Keller Williams has always espoused. The other extremely good thing in my mind is originally Keller Williams was, and they still are, a very strong read the red book, grow a large team concept. They do promote team building, and I think that's great. I didn't choose to do that. I would rather work on my own, and at one point I had a couple of assistants back in the day when I was up there in one of the top 10 in the Remax in Columbus. But today, with Command and the things that we have available and are becoming available, you can in fact do and be successful without engaging in spending a lot of money through various mailing programs and this and that. It's all available right there for you through Keller Williams. I mean, I just think that is a tremendous commitment that Gary Keller and Keller Williams have made to all of us, and it has been coming along. I mean, I think that started about 3 or 4 years ago that they announced it, and it has now gotten to be a real thing and something that really works for each of you, and you should totally take advantage of the things that are available through Keller Williams. Another thing that I'll point out that I think all of you need to think about. I know mental attitude is such an important thing for everybody, especially now when we're living with the coronavirus and the uncertainty of everything that seems to go on in life. Is that Keller Williams should be your rock, and it can be your rock. I know we're in a transitional stage now with Troy leaving, and I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm absolutely sure that Dana will find us a team leader that is excellent. I think we all need to hang in there and fight our way through this. We've only got, I think I looked yesterday, I think 2,700 active listings right now. At the peak of probably 2003 or 4, we had like 17,000 listings on the MLS. So it's a lot thinner market now. Multiple offers are a very commonplace thing. I'm reminded I'll close with a story that, 2 stories actually, that John Maxwell left us with in that one meeting I went to back in 91. He talked about a situation where 4 monkeys were in a room with a pole in the center of the room with bananas on the top of that pole. One of those monkeys tried to climb the pole to go up and get the bananas. He got about 3/4 of the way up, and all of a sudden he got doused with cold water and fell off the pole to the ground. He tried again to do that and got doused with water and went to the ground again. Each of the 4 monkeys tried but failed to get to the bananas. At some point in time, a new monkey was introduced and an old one left, and the remaining 3 monkeys pulled that new monkey down the minute he tried to go up because they knew what was going to happen. Eventually, all the monkeys got changed out on that group of monkeys, and nobody ever even tried to climb the pole any longer to get to the bananas, but nobody knew why. And I think that the message there is that in life, many times we try to climb the pole, try to be successful, try to work through things, and others throw water on our dreams. Don't ever give up. That's the message I need to finish with. Don't ever give up. Always move forward. Looking over your back is bad for your neck. Looking forward is the best way to get things done. If you're committed enough and you're willing enough to work at it, you can be successful in this business and do very well. Whether you grow a big team or whether you're just a single practitioner or without an assistant or even with an assistant. Commitment to being successful is what you have to make and what you have to do, and you have to do all that as avidly as you can. I don't suggest that you give up life and family to be successful in this business. I think that over time, I've paid a price for having done that, as have many of us. And you need to keep it in perspective. But can meet great people and have a wonderful relationship with those people in the world of desperate optimism that is real estate. If anybody has any questions they might like to ask in any way, I've just been running my mouth now for about 45 minutes. I'd be glad to answer them. If there are no questions, I'm going to terminate this conversation. I really appreciate your taking the time to listen. I don't know that it would be any help to anybody. I certainly hope it is. I guess the message is keep moving forward, keep trying, don't ever give up. You can make it happen in real estate today and have a great life. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Don.
See you,
Thanks,
Teresa.
Don. Thanks, Don. It was very helpful. I really appreciate that. And you gave us a lot of insight. So thank you so much.
Have a good rest of the day, everybody.
Thank you.
You too.